Hey, we're with Michael Walters. We're going to talk a little bit about the season here in the Champions Tour. Michael, talk to us a little bit about the two baits that if you could pick to take to every event this year on the Champions Tour, what would they be?
I would say for me, just if I could only have two things in the boat, the first one would just be either a jig or a punch kind of setup, flipping setup. So this I have like reaction innovations, beaver, very common deal. Tungsten weight, Thorn Brothers custom. I've had these built for years, but these Predator rods from Thorn Brothers are really good for flipping. All purpose actually, you can use crankbaits, everything. Shimano reels, I mean this is what I would have for my setups. The basically 7 bearings, as fast a pickup as you can get. 7/6 rod, and then the other one, and probably the go-to mostly, this I'd use for kind of searching or once you isolate, you just get on a bank, you get on a weed line, you just go and you flip and flip, and you can always be pitching a jig or some kind of a punch rig or Texas rig. So that's a staple, and then the other one's a drop shot. You're gonna hear everybody talking about it. It's kind of taken off over the last few years big time. I think that that all those events out on Mille Lacs and Seth Fighter and such kind of put that whole drop shot thing on the map a lot more, because in the last few years I've seen this. You see a lot of these guys down south with spinning gear, and that was never the case maybe 5-6 years ago. So drop shot's pretty much staple for me. On the drop shot, it's pretty simple stuff, but a lot of people talk about it. Like I said, anywhere from a foot to 2 feet, you kind of play with your drop. 18 inches seems to kind of be that magic starting point. Any type of, they make a ton of drop shot hooks that are out there. I'll vary between two. One is just a straight drop shot hook. This one happens to be from Owner, and it's a mosquito light. Otherwise, you can use an offset and you can hook it Texas rigged on your drop shot. So if you're using something that's maybe a little bit longer, like a robo worm, or even like if you want to straight hook a Senko or something like that, and you want it to be able to sit off of the bait further, but you also want it to be weedless, you can hook it that way, and then as you hook it Texas rig style on your drop shot, you can work that through the weeds. So it just kind of depends on the presentation style. But that's pretty much, if I had two options, it would be something that I would pitch and something as I get on the deep weed lines.
So on the drop shot rig, are you fishing that more vertical, or is it something you're casting out? How are you presenting that bait?
I almost always cast it out. I'll get off of a weed line, and then I'll cast 45s as I make my way up the weed line. I just cast 45, just pass into the weeds, and then you can just kind of work that back. And they'll either be hanging kind of on the inside edge, they'll be right on the edge, or they might be off of it just a little bit. So once you figure out where you're getting those more of your strikes and your bites, then you can kind of fine tune off that piece and either cast right to the edge or move in a little bit further and make your cast on the inside. But it's almost always I'm going to be casting to structure and then letting it sit and slowly work it back to the boat versus right over the top. Now, it's totally different if you're on, let's say if I were smallmouth fishing and I'm not fishing weed lines, but I'm fishing big boulders or rock structure reefs in a lot of the clear water lakes that are up here. In that case, I might get up on the hummingbird units, and then it's you fishing vertically. I'll get up, I'll mark the fish right below the boat and drop straight down to them, and then you'll vertically fish them. So it kind of depends, I guess, on the way you're fishing, but if I'm mostly fishing weed lines or I'm on searching along a structure, I'll be casting out and then slowly working back. But once you target those fish, and if it's deep enough, you can definitely drop straight on them.